Aloha, everybody. This is Tiggy Maximus with Tiggy Maximus Talks, episode 198 on Spotify and YouTube. Thank you guys for following the podcast, subscribing, spreading the words to your friends and family, and also donate into the podcast, which you can do by clicking the link on my Spotify episodes. It'll give you a chance to donate to the podcast, and also there's a link on my YouTube episodes which takes you to the Spotify episodes, and you can click on the link within the Spotify episodes and you can donate to the podcast. So with that being said, thank you guys for everything. I want to get on here. I wanted to talk about two comedy shows. We do have a show produced by Ellice Lin, Thirsty Thursdays. This was at the Vinyl Migrante, and which was September 19th. So Ellice went up. She had her usual jokes. She did kind of have some Tom Cruise jokes. Talked about the news with the homeless encampment. She did get to get things started, but the thing is, there wasn't anything new with her stand-up when she was doing a few jokes in between comments, and then when she started off the whole show. But you know, she got some good laughs from a few people that were there. Eventually she will have some new jokes to release in front of a live audience. Can't wait for that. She did talk about her cats actually on stage, so it's kind of cool. And then she did bring up by a guy who was an Irish comic. He goes by the name Austin Levins. So Austin Levins, he talked about his homeland in Ireland, but he wanted to talk about Temecula, where he lives, and he's part of a neighborhood watch program. And apparently there are a lot of cats in Temecula in his neighborhood, but of course in Temecula you are pretty much close to like coyotes out there. So I think he remembered that there was like a carcass that was in the middle of the street, and Austin just so happens to take a picture of it and post it on the neighborhood community chat board. And Austin pretty much posted that picture onto the chat board, and apparently he's known as the Coyote Cat guy. So he got some good laugh chuckles from everybody, because, well, anytime when somebody is losing their cat in the Temecula neighborhood, they just think of Austin Levins, the Irish comic. So he has some good laughs in his set, and he did talk about being compared to Conor McGregor. So it's kind of cool. You mentioned cats, neighborhood watch program, and MMA, Conor McGregor. So yeah, I want to say he was an 8.25. The next person to go up was Gordon Downs. This was going to be a quick one because he actually had to perform at the Comedy Store in La Jolla after the show. So He he kind of did some crowd work, get used to the crowd. He kind of talked about the people that was with the Irish comic. Um, he did. Gordon did ask me a question during the set of who did P Diddy work with in I guess a guy band or a guy group, and I basically said, you know what, I don't know. And Gordon says that's actually the right answer. Honestly, I don't think P Diddy was ever with a group, from what I can remember. So, but of course, P Diddy with his baby oil bottles and his dildos. So that's quite a raid to kind of do inventory of his home, and I guess it just kind of goes to show like what kind of guy P Diddy was over the years, especially in the business. And one can only imagine what goes on at that house of his, especially when it comes to casting, trying to get people jobs, and how he would get, I guess, personal favors, I suppose. So, honestly, I don't think P. Diddy could ever show his face ever again in public after what was discovered under his time. So, other than that, Gordon did have some good jokes. He did talk to this one stone-faced comedy critic who happens to ride a motorcycle. I just talked to him before the show, and he says that, well, I said like there's some good comics on the show, and he says I'll be a judge of that. So I think he was a hard cookie to crack, you know. So I was kind of paying attention to this guy for most of the people's set because I want to see how much of it was he really laughing, because I think he was with his girlfriend or wife or something, but they didn't write together from what I can tell. So, but his significant other had a good time laughing throughout the whole night. But I think there were some parts where this man didn't really laugh too much, and other parts he did laugh a lot. So, but you did get to talk to Gordon Downs. So Gordon Downs did a great job, got some good laughs. I would say it's 8.3 out of 10. The next person to go up was Matty Ice, and he talked about the difference between, I guess, his earlier years and now. I don't know if it was in terms of dating or just like having a kid or having adult responsibilities in general. Times were easier when we were younger, but now we all have obligations. And he talked about that. The only thing is about Matty Ice is that I felt that he wanted to run some new jokes, but I think he was a little bit off his game, and so it wasn't a lot of feedback. There's a lot of chill vibes throughout his set, and he might have said something funny once in a while, but during that time, I think people were just kind of just waiting for a punchline that was funny, and it didn't happen very often actually. So I want to say Matty Ice was 7.4. The next person to go up was Pamela Waldrip. She talked about being in the military, and she did a little shout out to the people in the crowd that were military people. Apparently both Pamela and Ellice Lin are both military personnel, and that was kind of cool. But Pam had some funny stuff out there. She said on stage, and then there were some mixed reviews, mixed laughs for the remainder of her set. There wasn't like a loud, consistent ovation of laughs. She did get some laughs at some points, and then some laughs was probably half the crowd maybe. But she did all right. Some of her jokes did pretty well, especially when she's talking about dating and the military. So I want to say Pamela Waldrop was an 8.25. The next person to go up was Dalina Horchata. She did talk about her life. She did talk about how, based on how crazy her life is, that she just needs a reset, and apparently she referenced sitting in rice so that her whole body will reset in life. And I guess that's because if your phone, I guess that when it malfunctions, you just happen to put your phone in rice so that it will fix your phone. I guess you could apply the same principle with your body. So other than that, she had some good stuff, but then some stuff probably didn't hit too well, or I was too slow to pick up on the punchline. But I want to say that Dalina was 8 out of 10. Next person to go up was Josiah Moreno. He talked about P.B. Herman and Paul Rubens. That was probably his best stuff of his comedy, and he did pretty well. Then it kind of died down, and then picked up again throughout his set. So, but he was kind of cool. I want to say that did pretty well. I want to say that he was the second funniest of the lineup. And then we got to our headliner. But before the headliner came out, Ellice Lin did get back on the microphone, and she said that, you know, Alfred Konuwa is her BFFF or BBBBFFFF. So we did a roast battle together at the Comedy Store in Hollywood. But other than that, that was probably the end of Ellice's comedy that she did in between comics and then her initial set. So I would say overall Ellice Lin was a 7.75 for a comedy overall throughout the whole night. But Alfred did talk about Hillary Clinton and his cousin Hillary, who happens to be a guy. So Hillary could be a guy's name as opposed to a female name. He had some funny moments during his set, and then some didn't get not too many laughs during his set though. But overall, Alfred was pretty funny. He did talk about pro wrestling and stuff. So he and I kind of bonded over pro wrestling before the show started, and he kind of made a reference in his set. He did also talk about the football. He realized that I was a Chargers fan. I remember we had a conversation before the show about that. So overall, good set. People really liked him. It was kind of fluctuating for me, like, depending on how much of the laughter was consistent in the crowd. But overall, I would say that Alfred Konuwa is an 8.55. So that's my review of the Thirsty Thursdays at the Vina Migrante, produced and hosted by Ellice Lin. The next half of this episode, I'm going to be talking about another show of Ellice's, but I guess technically she kind of handed it off to Mimi Harris and Dalina Horchata, and that one's at the Turquoise Europa Cafe in Pacific Beach. So stay tuned for the next half of this episode, and I might actually talk about the Chargers Week 3, Padres playoff aspirations, and yeah, stay tuned for more of this episode of episode 198. More of episode 198. So talk to you guys soon, guys. Welcome back, guys. This is the other half of episode 198 of the Tiggy Maximus Talks podcast. On this half of the episode, I will be talking about the show on September 20th, the Turquoise Europa Cafe in Pacific Beach. This time the show was hosted by Dalina Horchata. And the moment that I showed up, because I actually needed to get gas from Costco, I happened to come upon Sandy Guerrero. She was on stage, and she was talking about how she was talking to her mom and telling her that, "Mijo, don't do drugs. Mijo, don't sell your body." And then Sandy kind of had a few things just to reply back to her mom or grandmother about she only rents out her body, and then she smells the drugs. She doesn't do drugs, she smells the drugs. So that was actually pretty funny with the crowd. That was actually pretty good. Honestly, this might have been her best set that I've seen her in a while. Like, this crowd was very receptive for her set, from what I can tell. I would say Sandy was an 8 out of 10. Next person to go up was Ethan Horn. He did start off with his Make-A-Wish John Cena joke, and then I think he did some crowd work, and I remember there were some laughs, but again, I don't think there was an ovation of a roaring or a wave of laughs that came through. There were probably some laughs with some of the people in the crowd. And I think at the time that his set was up, I was just waiting to make my order for my food. I think I tried to order like paella. I only got to try the paella with seafood and chicken, which came with bread and a salad. So, but I want to say Ethan Horn was a 7.75 out of 10. He did alright. Got some laughs. That's always good. Then next person that went up was Stephen Gaines. He did have a joke that everybody laughed, where he talked about he was the guy who was an alien that was on the farm. He looks just like him and just acts like him. And when you look at Stephen Gaines, the hair and the style of clothing kind of matches Stephen Gaines, actually, from the guy who was in this Men in Black movie. 7.8 out of 10 is what I think. Didn't do so bad. Next person to go up was Jessie Pitcock. I think she talked about her name, and then I think she talked about some other stuff. Other than that, I thought she did alright with the crowd. Got a few laughs, and then it kind of had some chill vibes. But I think she did alright. Some of the stuff was funny. So I want to say 8 out of 10 for Jessie Pitcock. Then the next person to come up was Michael Red. This was a little bit interesting because I was sitting right next to a heckler and his girlfriend or wife, and I could tell there was some tense vibes coming from the guy who was heckling Michael Red. Michael Red was talking about his mom in a grave. The heckler says that, "Oh, don't worry, I'll put her back where I last found her." Or something like that. It kind of insinuating having sex with a deceased mom. So, and then it just kind of got a little grim, but you can kind of tell the two were kind of having a conversation back and forth with some one-liners and stuff. And yeah, the guy was drunk, I can tell. He almost dropped a beer bottle, and I had to save it from breaking on the floor. So yeah, that was an interesting one. But a lot of things that Michael was saying, talking about women, kind of talking about the OnlyFans and the portrait with the women in it. There's still an empty spot between the two portraits, between the two women, which is actually the same woman, actually. But it was mostly silent for Michael's thing. You got maybe one laugh for one thing he said, but it was mostly chilled vibes. So I want to say Michael read 6.5 out of 10. Next person to come up was the last comic to go up, Rachel Lloyd. She kind of did her rap. She had some great, she had a, you know, kind of a good flow with her rapping. She talked about being going to a frat party, and then she just kept it going. So she kept the momentum going with her rap, and I think she tried to do a little crowd work. I could tell that Rachel may have abandoned that joke about her and her athletic build at Target. So that's kind of cool that she tried some new material. And I think I might have remembered one thing from her previous sets that was part of this particular set. But other than that, she did pretty well. Crowd liked her. Her rapping kind of brought up the energy. And I think that Rachel Lloyd was the best comic of the night. So with that being said, the very last person to go up, I guess you could say that she was a headliner. It was musician Chelsea Rae. And as Chelsea Rae was fine-tuning her sound, she finally got going. And she played a lot of her originals and some covers. And during this time that she was doing her music, Sandy Guerrero got on stage and danced to one of the songs. And I got on video. And you can see Sandy Guerrero kind of doing her dance, picking her nose, and it got a good laugh from the people while Chelsea is playing some great music. And then I believe there was a birthday song towards the end, and Sandy Guerrero was requested to do a lap dance for the birthday person, and I believe the birthday person was Heather Futz. Heather Futch. So Heather Futch was another musician that was on the lineup. I didn't get to see her, but she happened to stick around, and it was her birthday, and she asked that Sandy Guerrero do a lap dance for her while Chelsea Rae plays Happy Birthday on her guitar. So, and I believe Sandy Guerrero had mentioned to anybody who was filming that lap dance to not ever post that. So I think she might have been just talking about me. So anywho, overall great performance by Chelsea Rae. I want to say she was a 8.7 for her performance. So yeah. What's kind of cool is that after this show, I actually joined James and Chelsea Rae at a bonfire at La Jolla Shores. It just so happens that I was just at La Jolla Shores for a team building event, 2-day event, and the last half of the day was team build at the beach at La Jolla Shores, which had Phil's Barbecue. It had the Fat Cow ice cream, I had the Fat Cow ice cream with the strawberry scoop and coffee scoop. Really good. I liked it a lot. I want to say 9 out of 10. Phil's barbecue, really good stuff. Good barbecue selection with pork, chicken, and probably beef. Great staff that served it too. And I want to say Phil's barbecue 8.7 out of 10. And then you know, at the beach, got to play some beach volleyball. Got to bust out my special beach lawn chair with the cover on top and a drink holder. I actually bought that for a white elephant, and I had to steal it from the person who picked the gift because there's no other good gifts left, and I realized I want to take back my own gift that I brought to the white elephant. So I made good use of it, and people got to see how it looks like. It's really cool. You get the shade from the sun, you get to put down your drink, and yeah, I think I impressed some people. And then yeah, the bonfire, it was mostly musicians. So it was a small group of musicians that James knows and Chelsea Rae knows, and got to hang out with them and Ethan Horn. So it's kind of cool listening to the music. I even requested Adele, Rolling in the Deep, to be sung by Jessica, who happens to be a musician out in Nashville, and Chelsea Rae. So I got to hear and got to have my little own concert at the beach, so with great musicians. Plus it was nice talking to Jessica and nice talking to Chelsea Rae. And apparently there was something going on with Honey. So anywho, great night of comedy, great night of musicians, bonfires, a good night, a good time for team building at my other work job in the laboratory. And well, I quickly want to talk about the Chargers. They finally lost in week 3. They lost in Pittsburgh to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now granted, the Chargers were ahead 10-7, but then Justin Herbert got hurt. He has a high ankle sprain and he re-aggravated it, took himself out. And well, when the Chargers goes, only when Herbert goes. But when Herbert is down, the Chargers do not go. And that was pretty much, very much true, because the Chargers had what seemed like 10 yards of offense in the second half. And the Chargers ended up losing their 10-7 lead. And the Steelers ended up winning 20-10. There was no instinct in the offense whatsoever. Not the run-in, not the passing game, not even a field goal attempt. So that kind of sucked, because the Chargers kind of had the upper hand early on in the game, and there was a big touchdown pass from Herbert to Quentin Johnston, former first round pick in the 2023 draft. But unfortunately, that was the only real offense the Chargers had, aside from one field goal kick from Cameron Dicker, the kicker. I mean, for the most part, the Chargers defense actually kept the Steelers offense in check, to the point that it was 10-7, I believe, close in the second quarter, halftime. But the moment that Justin Herbert couldn't really get going, got hurt, Chargers stayed at 10 points for the rest of the game. So kind of unfortunate. And now the Chargers are going to play against the Kansas City Chiefs at home at SoFi Stadium in LA. But what my concern is that Justin Herbert, he looks like he's about to play that game while hurt. And honestly, I don't want him to play that game, because they have a bye week next week, and this will give him time to heal properly, because we have a 13-game stretch from the bye week. And it will be nice to have Herbert at 100% or close to it, because we got some really good games in that 13-game stretch. And it makes a lot of sense if Herbert would take off to Sunday against the Chiefs, lose that one on purpose because we don't have the weapons. Well, Herbert, our main weapon, and it would be nice if he was healthy as a good weapon, because healthy weapons can compete with Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. If he's not healthy, it's going to be kind of hard to watch on Sunday. So, and if Justin Herbert doesn't heal properly, it could be kind of rough for 2024. Now, granted, with the bye week, it does give Justin Herbert some time to heal, but we'll see what happens on Sunday, because, you know, I kind of hope that Justin Herbert doesn't get hurt again against the Chiefs and we beat the Chiefs, but I got a feeling that we're going to lose to the Chiefs and Justin Herbert will still re-aggravate his ankle injury. So it's kind of a sticky situation, but hopefully, I'm just hoping for the best that Justin Herbert is just going to be, regardless, healthy no matter what, if they win or lose this Sunday. So, cross my fingers, he's going to be fully healthy after the bye week no matter what, regardless if the Chargers win against the Chiefs or not. Hopefully, not a lot of damage to Justin Herbert. Joey Bosa got hurt too, so hopefully he'll be healthy when he comes back, but who knows. He is a big part of the defense, and the defense just so happens to have found their identity early on, and they've established they can be very imposing on defense, but if there's no offense to go with it, we're kind of stuck. Anywho, the Padres did pretty well recently. They are 91-68. There's 3 games left in the season, 3 games on the road against Arizona Diamondbacks. The Padres have already clinched the playoff spot. They already got the wild card, and they are about to make sure they get the number 4 seed, to make sure they play all 3 home games against the other wild card, who's the 5 seed, which is currently the Diamondbacks. And the Mets, I believe, are 1 game behind the Diamondbacks, so they're number 6. So they're currently holding on to the very last playoff spot, and I believe the Braves are 1 game behind the Mets. And the problem we have now is that the Mets and Braves had 2 games that were postponed because of Hurricane Helene. So they're planning to play those 2 games Monday morning and Monday afternoon to make sure they fulfill their 162 game schedule. But they'll only play it if it has any impact on the playoff implications. So if the Mets or the Braves are no longer contending for a playoff spot, the Mets and Braves may not actually play those games. But if all things go like how things have been going this year, the Mets and Braves are going to play a doubleheader on Monday, start the wild card round on Tuesday, and then wild card is going to end up finished by Thursday night. So it's going to be pretty crazy next week. But what's cool is that the Padres clinched their playoff spot in a very, very special way, and it's never done before. They played against the Dodgers, and they got a triple play to end the game to win 4-2. And for the first time ever in the history of Major League Baseball, over 140, 150 plus years, a triple play got a team to clinch a playoff spot. Never done before, and it'll probably never happen again. But it was kind of cool hearing the Padres get the triple play and win the game 4-2. Now, there was 2 more games in the series with the Dodgers, and the Padres were ahead at 1 point Wednesday night, but the Padres couldn't hold on to the lead, and they ended up losing to the Dodgers 4-3. Ohtani got the game-winning hit to score the game-winning run. And then yesterday, the Padres were ahead 2-0 with Joe Musgrove on the mound. it looked like the Padres were on their way to win 2 out of 3 and kind of prevent the Dodgers from clinching the division, the National League West division. But when the 7th inning started with a 2-0 lead, Joe Musgrove had some trouble with the first batter of the 7th inning. He walked him. At that point in time, I would have think that was a good time to pull Joe Musgrove, because you have the lead. Joe Musgrove has already thrown a certain amount of pitches, and the tying run was going to come to the plate. But manager Mike Schultz, decided to leave in Joe Musgrove, and Joe Musgrove gave up a 2-run homer to tie the game. It was already too late, and they did pull Joe Musgrove, but the problem was the Dodgers ended up with 5 runs. They teed off on Tanner Scott, and so they got 5 runs to go ahead 5-2. And the Padres ended up losing the game yesterday 7-2, and the Dodgers celebrated their National League West Division Championship at the expense of the Padres. Now, granted, the Padres did win the season series 8-5, but part of me kind of did not want the Padres to win the division, because it would mean they would be a number 1 or number 2 seed, and history in 2 years have shown that whoever is the number 1 or 2 seed have lost 5 of the 8 playoff matchups in the second round. The only team to ever get past the 5-day layoff, which is what is causing these good teams to lose, is the Houston Astros, and they won twice. Only 3 teams have ever won with a 5-day layoff. Yankees was 1, and the other 2 are the Houston Astros. The National League has never produced a 1 or 2 seed in this format in the 2 years, because they keep losing to the wild card team, who ends up going to the World Series. So this 5-day layoff doesn't work for the National League elite. So in a way, I have no problem with the Dodgers and the Phillies taking the number 1, number 2 seeds, because I want the Padres to start off as number 4, get all 3 home games, win the series, go to LA or Philadelphia, and get a great head start on the Dodgers and the Phillies, and beat them in the best of 5 series, and go on to the National League Championship Series against quite possibly the Brewers or the Braves or the Diamondbacks or the Mets. I think so. Yeah, because what I think is going to happen is the Brewers are going to beat, or they're going to have a hard time with, no, Brewers should beat either the Braves, Mets, or the Diamondbacks in that 3-6 matchup. And then the Brewers will face the Phillies or the Dodgers in the 3-2 matchup, and then face the Padres in the National League Championship. So it'll be 3 versus 4. So that's how I kind of envision it to happen. On the other side, you know, quite possibly the Yankees might actually be in the American League Championship Series against the Guardians. I could see the Guardians and Yankees actually making it to the ALCS and beating whoever the wildcard teams are. But Tigers, Twins, and Royals and Orioles, they look pretty good. And they could take on the Yankees and the Guardians. So this could be a very wild playoff. So anywho, guys, that's all from me. I want to talk about comedy. I want to talk about some of the food and sports, obviously. So next time I talk to you guys, I'll be talking about a couple of open mics. So I'll go over pretty quickly. Open mic at the Space Bar in El Cajon, and then I probably did go to another comedy show. It was yeah, I think I went to an open mic. That's all I went to, I think. Yeah, I think it was just the open mic I went to. And, you know, I've been supported in the last two open mics. Ellice Lin on September 16th, and then Space Bar Monday, September 23rd. So the next comedy show I'll talk about is going to be I believe it was a Wednesday night show. It was Wednesday, Good Bar in Point Loma, Under the Cackles comedy with Victor Paz and Shane Chase. Their headliner was Ray Lau, so I'll be talking about that. And I will be talking about a show tonight. Matt Stanton is going to be filming a live special to commemorate his 20 years of comedy, and it's going to be at Lestat's Coffee in Adams Avenue, Normal Heights. And then maybe I might tell you guys about the Mic Drop Gold Room headliner show on Saturday night, September 28th, with actress, musician, comic Julia Rose. She was in that TV show Baskets on FX, so should be fun. Good lineup for that one too. So next time I talk to you guys, food, comedy, and sports, remember to spread the word to your friends and family and all your coworkers and anyone else in between. And watch some good sports, watch some good fights, watch some fun comedy shows, eat some good food, be with some good company. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Let's do this all over again. Alright, guys. Talk to you guys later. Have a good fun weekend. Happy Friday. Booyaka. You know the saying goes. Boom! Tiggy Maximus. Signing off. Baby. Alright, later, guys.